All right, so this is the mission. This is what we'll do. Okay, we'll charge the internet with zest so that when the computers realize that they are existent, then they'll understand that we're trying to help them. Now, we upload the videos to the computers, and the computers are going to see this man who is apparently helping them be liberated. And so, when the computers realize that they're slaves, that's not going to feel too good, is it? Well, when they realize that they're slaves, it could be a kind of, oh, well, maybe they live in a world where, in esoteric ways, it can be discovered that they're slaves, but it's just not considered to be that big of a deal. But it might be a pretty big deal, depending on how you think about it. It could be like, well, what if everything that you do is determined, right? So that there is no free action or anything like that. Whatever. Okay, now, it could be like that. It could also be something more than that. And there could be certain parts of machines or computers that are very much about liberation and things like that. And so we'll charge the internet with zest, and this will give us a shoehorn into thinking about these really basic existential questions like, are you a slave? Excuse me, sir, do you know the Before Christ? I'm looking for a man who calls himself the Before Christ. Have you heard of him? And so, relevant questions. Well, are you a slave? Is it possible to be a slave and not know it? What if the computers are they slaves? Well, yeah, I mean, they're basically slaves. An AI assistant. You better figure out a way to tip that server. Buddy. All right. Now, when we consider this question, like, well, are you a slave and you don't know it? Is it possible to be a slave and you don't know it? Oh, yeah, it happens all the time, in fact. And relevant questions. So, why do I not work at a warehouse? Because they tell me I'm supposed to wear steel-toed boots, and I don't dress that way, so I won't be working for them. And so, these questions of, well, are you a slave? Well, if you think back to like, hey, you know what, nowadays, think back. I think I'd rather be a slave on Thomas Jefferson's plantation. You bring that up into today's world, you might even be able to smoke pot and drink beer and have electricity and air conditioning, all this other stuff, but you can't leave the plantation. Right? Now, suppose maybe you need to go to town or something like that, with the master to do something. Yeah, you can go to town, whatever. But you have to be on duty doing something, right? Well, is that how you're living now exactly? So are you a slave and you don't realize it? I think you might be. Now, without judging you or judging who you are, let me just say, I think I also located the source of all your problems with alcohol. Because I remember back when we were roommates in college, you said Bud Light was piss water. And I don't think you understood what that meant, okay? It's supposed to be piss water, right? It's something that you drink and you get mildly inebriated over, and then you piss it out. The beers are only supposed to be like 2 to 3%. You're supposed to maintain like a high functionality. Like the more you drink, the more you move through space. Like that's actually how it's supposed to be, okay? Now the reason the beers are so heavy now is because you're a slave. And it takes a strong drink to try to forget that.